what for me was particularly refreshing was their unanimous statement that since the African Games started, and this is way back in the early 70s, I believe, this has been the best ever competition hosted in the table tennis space. Best ever.
The best ever.
Best ever. It wasn't me saying it. It was the president of the African Table Tennis Federation. And all the players who came, and that's the other side of the conversation we have to have. All the players who came, and the quality and nature of this competition was world standard. As in the best you see if you were having a competition in China or in Doha or any of the big table tennis meets. And we got all the talents from Africa represented. And that's part of the reason why performance needs to be properly situated. Because what we saw was no kids play. It was big time, high level, excellent professional table tennis.
Wow, interesting stuff there. And of course, in the men's singles, it was the player from Egypt who dominated.
Yes. And I mean, the interesting thing is that right after yesterday's game, they were in a plane going to Singapore because there is a big competition going on there, the Singapore Smash. And indeed, Africa's best player by rankings, Aruna, could not win the title. He was a runner-up, What again came up yesterday during the press engagement was the fact that the quality and the depth of that competition was so intense that at the round of 32, any world beater could go out. And a lot of the top talents, top 10, went out at the round of 32. And that's the reason why when you're looking at Ghana's performance, we getting players going through round of 32 all the way to round of 16. It's in itself a remarkable achievement, just on the basis of this competition. But there is also a historical perspective. We'll get to that. And it's always useful for us to have the right perspective and context when we are looking at performance. Because ultimately, yes, we all want medals. But beyond the medals, it's also useful and necessary to see how far the team is pushed. And to juxtapose that against where we typically have gotten to all the way from history. And we'll look at the data all the way from 1978 to date.
Well, Malko Afajinu is the president of the Ghana Table Tennis Federation. Of course, he wears many hats. So today, for the purposes of this show, would limit it to the Ghana Table Tennis Federation. Yeah, I know all of you want to mention IPR and his banking background. We'll mention all of that later on. But right now, we want to focus on table tennis. Let's get back.
Small Accra Hearts of Oak.
A lot of Accra Hearts of Oak, in fact. Well, let's get on Zoom and have a conversation with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Muftau, good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Nat.
Let's talk about how we officially started.
My greetings to the big man in the studio, Malko.
Hey, bro, how?
I'm good.
Very well. Very well. Muftau,
just briefly, Nat, I heard the latter part of Malko talking about the context that we need to provide when it comes to medals. Nat, yesterday you would recall during game plan, I said that I would always appreciate we use our words carefully when it comes to describing the performance of our athletes. Where I said I would prefer the use of unsuccessful attempts instead of us always running win. If you don't attempt, you will never learn. And I always believe that when you attempt, you gain skill. And the skill is what will spur you on to be able to do better in subsequent events. I am extremely proud of what the table tennis team has done. Trust me, prior to these games, I'm sure Mao will tell you that some of the facilities and equipment that were required for them to even get their team ready to be able to compete, they struggled, they had challenges. However, they are still able to compete. That's success alone for me. And I believe that we should give them thumbs up. And hopefully, with the equipment now available for them after these African Games, they'll be the chief beneficiaries of these equipment that have been bought by the states for table tennis. And I believe subsequently, they'll be able to do well.
Interesting. We'll do more of that, but let's also quickly look at how we officially started this. I mean, there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of, I mean, from our end, a lot of pushing of the local organizing committee to get their act right regarding organizing this. For you, I mean, we've seen, I mean, for the rest of the competitions or tournaments, whose opening ceremonies you've had to watch maybe from the screen or from a distance, and for those you've watched live, where do you place this, and how does it
The
fit?
gray area for me would be the fact that we were not able to fill the Legon Stadium to the brim for the opening ceremony. That is the only area of concern for me, because I believe that with only 11,000 spectators required to be able to fill it, we should have put together a deliberate plan that will get people to the venue to be able to patronize the opening ceremony. However, I believe that the local organizing committee, the government, and everyone contributed so much so that we were able to get this done. Now, many of us would recall some of the challenges that this country went through to be able to put together this event. And trust me, Nat, it takes commitment, it takes hunger. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, I was with Mauko at the Games Village. And in fact, there were certain things. So I think that, yes, the local organizing committee, they could have done better in terms of spectatory for the opening ceremony. But they would always tell you that when you invest, you are looking at the long-term benefits of your investment. I'm not sure that anyone will hear the figures that the country has pumped into organizing these games without raising concerns about the fact that there are certain areas that need urgent attention, but we still decided to pump the money into organizing the African Games. The other area that I also had was about the fact that Cape Verde were made to understand is yet to come. I don't know whether they would come, but we had about 52 or 53 of the countries all available. The different culture on display was magnificent. The performances from the musicians, magnificent. So all in all, I think this was an opening ceremony. I read the local, but this is what they were able to pull through. You heard maybe Rex Broadway when we spoke to him on Prime. He said that yes, they've learned certain things, and hopefully the closing ceremony they were able to fill out those areas that they were not able to fix, and we'll have a very.
What did it take away? I mean, you've given a mark which is 4 less than 10. So I guess that is what really would take care of the 4, the remaining 4 which you could have given in terms of your rating.
So Nat, you and I know very well that every event is the spectators that make the event, right? And if 11,000 people were required to fill the Legon Stadium, even if we were able to say we were getting like 6,000 or 7,000 people to the place, that would have been a plus. But to think that people actually wanted to get inside and watch the opening ceremony, and they were not able to get access because, one, when you go on the ticketing platform, the feedback you get is that it was completely sold out, and 2, people that it was also another challenge. So I believe that spectators wise, it took away a lot from the games. Can anyone imagine the multiple colors, the excitement, the atmosphere that the global cameras and global eyes were on Ghana, and we didn't present something that signifies that we actually appreciate hosting the African Games, because that is a message we need to send out there. The message should be that we appreciate the fact that we are hosting the rest of the continent in Accra for the African Games. And if people don't show up, it shows that there might be a certain level of apathy towards the games. And if people cannot come for your opening ceremony, what is the guarantee that when the events themselves are ongoing, people will be there to watch? Apart from my colleague, they generally showed up to cover that. And how many spectators showed up to cover that, to watch that? So it sent that signal out there. It is quite negative for the country, Nat.
Well, away from all of that, there is also the bit about our athletes and what we should expect, and that is what we've been discussing. You have spent some time, monitoring what our friends in track and field athletics will be doing in the coming days. Um, what are they? What are the realistic expectations, and what should we uh, be happy about? What should we measure our expectations about?
Nathaniel, I think for the track and field, um, people should be optimistic, but they should be cautious of their optimism because we've got some of the fastest athletes in the continent. James Darcy did 9.77 in the 200 meters just about a year ago. Joseph Paul did an incredible 20.20 just about a year or two ago. And there was Benjamin Azamati, who is currently the record holder when it comes to the 100 meters. He did 9.94 for the country. So I think that all in all, James did 19.77, not 9.77. So all in all, now when you go to the track, we've got very exciting athletes. Your very old alma mater student, Ibrahim Husseini, is quite incredible athlete. There's also Solomon Diafo, an athlete we should be looking out for. There's Abraham Sianeke, an athlete we should be looking out for. All these are potential medal winners. But you're a potential medal winner does not mean that other countries are not coming with potential medal winners. Other countries who are coming to compete for the ultimate. And I think that in as much as these athletes represent hope when it comes to medals, I believe we should lower expectations and not pressure them too much. For the relay team, that has always been quite good. In fact, they are the defending champions of the gold medal in the 4x100.
Yeah,
they won it in
I'm glad you're highlighting that.
So,
I'm glad you're highlighting that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the 4x4 relay team is another area which you were looking out for. I believe that these boys, having set a national record of 38.08 seconds, or was it 07 seconds, they are a group of athletes. Anytime they have their day, they can always bring us a gold medal. However, like I always say, they are competing against some of the best two in the continent. I know Emmanuel Korea of Kenya is going to be here. He's one of the fastest men in the continent. I know Nigeria's Andy Ogbo is coming here for these African games. These are some of the fastest athletes that we've got in the continent. And if they are all coming, it's in as much as we should be hopeful. I believe that we should be champion of the high jump. She won the gold medal in Rabat, but unfortunately she's not coming. There's also Grace Obuo, who has been quite good in the 400 meters. I understand she's not coming. Lovina too is likely not to show up. Raymond French, who was one of the best athletes during the there's going to be an effect on the 4x400 meters because these athletes I've mentioned, they are 400 meters athletes. So and when your best 400 meters athletes are not around, it's definitely going to affect the relay team. That's going to do the 4x400. But all in all, I am very optimistic. In fact, Esther Ohindua is expected to take over from Rose Yeboah. She's quite a good jumper, but everyone will tell you that if Rose was here, the gold medal was there for the taking. But I'm sure Esther will also step in and do a very good job. For the 100 meters for the girls, Hor Haluchi, who was part of Ghana's contingent for the Commonwealth Games in 2018, and in fact, even the Commonwealth Games in Bellingham, with the likes of Latifa to Ali, all these athletes are still around. So I think the track and field, we should be very hopeful. Abraham Sineke in the long jump, I'm sure he missed out on the last Commonwealth Games. In fact, even the World Championships. But this is an opportunity for him to redeem himself. I'm sure he'll be coming in wanting to do a very good job.
Great stuff. So as we look forward to all of these Which of them are we starting with in terms of the schedule? If you can just run us through it and the key events to look out for.
So the athletics events would be starting on March 18, and it is going to start with the HIS, and usually the HIS, we expect it is going to last for like 4 days. We start on the 18th and end on 22nd for the track and field. It will start with the HIS, women's 400 and 200, and subsequently to the 400, 800 meters. I didn't even mention Alex Amankwa, who was part of the team for the world champs in Oregon about 2 years ago. And subsequently, the day 2 is where we are going to be having most of the races that are going to be bringing out the medals. Faith Kipyegon, who is the fastest woman in the 1,500 and the 5,000 meters, and then the mile for the women, is going to be here from Kenya. In fact, she is the world athlete of the year as you and I speak. So she's going to be one of the star athletes to watch out for. Toby Emusan of Nigeria, who also set a world record of 12.06 seconds just about a year or two ago, is also expected to be here. She will be doing the 100 meters hurdle for the women. And on day 3, we are going to be having the finals. There's going to be the steeplechase final. So the steeplechase final will be happening on day 3. Then we are going to have the 4x100 meters and the 4x400 meters races, ending the event on day 4. Nat.
Well. As for that one, everybody's looking forward to it. I'm sure you're looking forward to it as well. So, and in wrapping up with you, in wrapping up with you, Muftau, are there any surprises you'd be expecting? I mean, in all of these events. I mean, you've mentioned the big names. Obviously, they are a point of attraction for these games. There's no doubt about that. And their performance, their pedigree speaks for them. But are there any surprises at all you'll be expecting? All right. Okay. So seems like we lost the connection with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi there. We're doing some more. We'll be doing a bit of boxing as well. Boxing has its own expectations. The team is also doing its best to wrap up well at the ongoing Olympic qualifier in Italy. As we speak, it's Theophilus Kpakualote who they have an opportunity to come back home in the Africa Games and come and perform. So we've been talking about tickets. Now, I've been having a conversation with former Joy News editor, Jifa Bampo, who's now with Gridco handling their... we need to generate interest among the children and everything, so the children can give their parents pressure. We want to go and watch. I mean, I've seen you with your kids at the stadium several times. It's because you've grown a culture of following sport in your home. But we're having the games, we're in the thick of it, and we need to talk about how people can get tickets to go and watch and all.
Precisely, and also the family experience aspect of it. So families are able to go there, have a good time, enjoy the games, get the kids to apply themselves and to be exposed to the beauty and excitement of sports. And you might never know, it might just spark interest, and we might realize that through this we've created a whole generation of very high performing athletes.
All right, now let's do some more in terms of going round and looking at the situation. We've talked a bit about athletics, which will form a chunk of the activity that we'll be seeing at these games. Let's talk to the communications director of the Ghana Boxing Federation. I'm talking about Charles Jojo Efson. Now he's going to bring us up to speed on what we should be expecting with our boxers as well. Charles, thank you very much for joining us on the Joy Sports Link.
Yeah, we are welcome, Nat.
All right, so let's quickly do a bit of a run around on Italy and what's been happening there. Our boxers have tried very hard. It hasn't really worked well for them. But then now the attention is on Theophilus Kpakualote to possibly get himself into the qualification zone and make it into Paris before coming back to Accra to focus on the African Games.
Yes, certainly. Theophilus Kpakualote, also known as Theo Lopez, stand as the Lone Ranger for the national boxing team now in Italy, trying to seek that slot for Paris 2024. As we stated last week on your show, we registered 7 boxers who were in Italy for the competition. It started with Tio. He won against his Taipei opponent, to qualify into the next stage. Then the next online was Africa Kote, who missed out. Before then we had Jonathan Tete, who also, failed to make his way and was suspended to be qualified. Then we had Africa Kote, who lost out to his Czechoslovakian opponent, or Czech, the opponent from Czech, yes. Then we have Attoh Mohammed, Star Sergeant Attoh Mohammed, who also lost to her Romanian opponent, before Samuel Techi also lost in the evening to his Japanese opponent. Then, subsequently, Leicester-born Ghanaian Makojovi Ahunjo, could not have his travel document ready. Subsequently, could not make it to Italy. So, it was a walkover for his opponent, and he got disqualified. So, it's left with 2 boxes. Yesterday, we had our the remaining lady, that Janet Aqua, who also lost to her Taipei opponent, at the round of 32. So now, as it stands now, Theophilus subsequently on Wednesday, won against his Bhutanese opponent to qualify him to the round of 16. He's fighting tomorrow against a strong South Korean opponent, in Kun Kim. If he tried or managed, to win, he take him to the quarterfinals. From the quarterfinals, he's subsequently meeting an Argentine or a boxer from Guyana. If he is able to overcome them, then he qualifies for the Olympics. So Theophilus Pakpo Alote have 2 bouts to win to qualify him to the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. That is constant.
Okay, all right. And out of 10, realistically projecting, how achievable is this?
Well, realistically speaking, this is his 3rd attempt on the international circuit, and anytime he make it to the international circuit, he has never disgraced himself. He went to Tashkent, fought well, and lost against the African #1, Patrick Chinyemba of Gambia, who are qualified for the Olympics. He didn't disgrace himself. It was a split decision. When we took him to the African Olympic qualifier in Dakar, Senegal, he won bronze, right? He won bronze. So Theophilus have been the national individual amateur boxing champion twice. And he has shown that he has what it takes. 20 years old, SHS product, he has disgraced himself so much. And from the camp of the King Kong, Joseph Agbeku, Theophilus is one of the prospects of Ghana boxing. So in that regard, we have high hopes, in him, and expect that, he will overcome his Argentine opponent, and perhaps as the main, the flag bearer of Ghana, national team in Italy now, he cannot let us down. We expect the best that he punch his way to the quarterfinals and subsequently qualify to the Olympics after the next bout.
All right, so you are just being optimistic. Let's see how things go. From a very Ghanaian perspective, we would have wished to have a lot more numbers at this stage of the competition, but as it stands now, we'd have to rely on one in boxing.
It's important. Now I'm wearing another hat, the GOC hat. It's important that we all pray and we stand behind you to qualify. We need the representation for the country at Paris, the Olympic Games, and we're hoping we'll get a lot more than one. but let's just stand behind you, and let's believe in you, and hopefully you will come true for the country.
All right. Now, Jojo, the final leg of our conversation will hover on getting themselves into the groove for the African Games. Now, how much does all of this play into what the boxers will be doing here, at home in a couple of days' time when boxing begins?
Well, before I respond to your question, I don't know if you've seen. I've sent you the team Ghana to the African Games, and if you could share it with the public, so you look at the team that is going to parade. Now, as I mentioned last week, 316 boxers, will be in Accra for the African Games from 34 countries. As I speak now, I'm just returning from the village, and I'm still on the campus of the University of Ghana. I've seen Africa's number one female, or the world number one female boxer, Madi Khadija from Morocco. I've also seen the Nigerian trio who have all qualified for the Olympics, among others. So it tells you that it's going to be fireworks. Now, balloting and pairing will take place on the 14th of March. That is coming Thursday. And after from the 15th of March to the 23rd of March, boxing will take place seriously at the Bukom Boxing Arena, and then the Gamashi Hall of the Transport Emporium at Kolegono within the Rodi Oduablekuma South Enclave. So you can see that we have a crack team. Muhammad Aite is on board. I mean, Theophilus Alote is also there. Samuel Teti. I'm saying all this in very any, unforeseen circumstances like injuries and all those things. So the Italy competition, as much as we didn't get what we expect, someone like Samuel Teti, who looked rusty when he lost to his Japanese opponent, the African Games is going to, serve as a point of making statements that all is not lost, because the fight on Tuesday, which he lost to the Japanese opponent, we all saw how rusty he looks. The last time he had a major competitive bout was in August 2021 when he lost the semi-final to Duke Reagan of America in Tokyo, Japan, for the escort to the finals. So that tells you that this competition in Italy has really come good for them. As much as we didn't get the needed result that we desired by qualification, it's equally good that they have been tested and they have used it to prepare themselves well, for the upcoming African Games. We are certainly hope for the best and the best out of it. Others who also could not deliver, at Italy Games, will also use the African Games to make amends and reassure Ghanaians that all is not lost. Boxing still remain as Ghana's leading medal prospect on the international competition circuit, be it the Olympic Games, be it the African Games, be it the Commonwealth Games. The records are there. This is not the time for me to start mentioning it. Any other sporting discipline, we stand tall when it comes to medal horse on, as a boxing, as I'm talking about, on the international sporting circuit for modern Ghana. We are already the black bombers and the black hitters. Yes, the female are also there. They are not left out. Not much is expected from them, but I don't think they are here or will be in Ghana to disgrace themselves in front of their own home fans. We are also using the African Games to prepare for the last window of qualifiers for the Olympic Games, which will take place in Bangkok, Thailand, from May, to June 2024. So that is how our teams look at and our activity and our readiness for the African Games, starting on Thursday with the parents and balloting. The main bout starts from 15th of March, Friday.
Well, we will be monitoring and we will be, hoping that we can do a better we can put up a better performance. Charles, thank you so much. Charles Jojo Efson is the communications director of the Ghana Boxing Federation, who are in charge of the Black Bombers and the Black Hitters, the national male and female boxing teams taking part in the African Games. Yeah, so it's tough. Now, you tell me as well, what is the biggest lesson or the biggest takeout from all of this after our participation, considering the kinds of circumstances we've always found ourselves in regarding infrastructure, regarding the opportunities to have regular competition and all of that?
We have a situation where we can go glass half empty or glass half full. Even if it's a third, only one third full, we have something in the glass, and I believe that should be the area of attention. That's what we have to build on. Beyond the infrastructure, there is also the framework for the various federations to be able to operate and operate successfully. And we should also be mindful of the professionalization of sports. Now we have elite athletes across the world. I mean, if you take virtually every federation, the ascendancy of the elite category has become a significant factor in our competitions. And football went through that cycle many years ago. You remember when we went to Algeria trying to qualify for the World Cup?
Yeah,
and you remember the very difficult memories. And we lost that match, I believe it was 2-1. And one of the reasons, and of course, Abedi and they play their hearts out, right? But in terms of the depth of the team, we couldn't compare with some of the big hitters in Africa at that time. Now, that same situation is playing out in different sporting codes. I mean, if you take table tennis, for example, the guys who are playing in the top 32 invariably tend to be solid hitters playing professionally. Our guys are giving their best in difficult circumstances. They are able to get this far in spite of and not because of. And one of the most important game changers, one of the key factors, is just the level and the gap between the professional players and our guys who play and are very dedicated, but ultimately they are working, and they may be working at Joy FM, but playing table tennis in the evening for the nation. I mean, we need to look at that. If they are going to do that, how do we give them the right kind of support to enable them narrow the gap with their professional counterparts who are playing day in and day out in some of the toughest leagues in the world? I mean, they are playing in China, they are playing in Europe. It's very hectic, highly competitive, and we go into competitions and we believe that we have to take medals off these people. We need to do something different. Now, that's number one. I say that for me personally, one of my biggest delights, and I sit here very fascinated. I spoke to you that was on the cups of being late for this program. You know why?
Tell me why.
Two of our kids. Juanita is 13, and Juanita is playing with Israel. Israel is 11. Juanita is from Nungwa, Israel is from Ashiama, and they were playing the mixed doubles. They were playing with a highly rated team from Tunisia. When I was leaving, the score was 1-1. The hall was up. Everybody was very excited about the kids. The future has never been this bright. We have a whole generation of young people coming through. And for me, that will be the best returns on this kind of investment. That out of this 13 African Games, we birth a whole generation of champions. And the yields and the dividends will be there for the nation spanning over 2 decades. I mean, if I take table tennis, I am very confident and extremely bullish that given what I've seen, with just the right level of support, this generation will be winning medals for this country. And again,
so what projection are we making? The next games or the next two editions?
Just give them 2 editions.
2 more.
2 more. And again, just to give you the historical frame, the last time Ghana won a medal in the singles in table tennis was 1987. I sent
Benaya,
the data to
my lead producer, I'm not sure was born in 1987.
He doesn't want to hear that. Now, before then, and back in the day, the gaps between the games, the third and the fourth, the third was, I believe, in 78, and it took another 9 years before the fourth in 87. That was the last time Ghana won a medal in table tennis in the singles competitions. Now, subsequent 9 years ago, we managed to get a medal in the teams, a bronze, but in the singles, it's never happened since 87. I can confidently look at this kids and sit here and say that in 4 years, they would be on the medal table.
Great. Well, so
And when we come back, I tell you a little story about Juanita.
okay.
Just a little story about Juanita. And she's not unique, she's part of a batch. And that's what gives me the assurance. Because if it's one person, it's very difficult. But you have a batch of about 6 highly talented girls coming through. And it's the same is also true for the boys. And so the future is looking good.
Future is looking good indeed, and how we all wish this conversation had happened 4 years earlier or 8 years earlier, so the likes of Juanita or the other Juanitas would have made it at this time and given Ghana some medals. Let's get back to the distances away from us and have a conversation with Mr. Bawaf Husseini, the CEO of Ghana Athletics. He is a former athlete himself, and he knows what it means for all these athletes who have crossed the miles to come here and defend the Ghana flag on our tracks. The biggest attraction, obviously, is our 4x100 meters team, relay team, who Muftal spoke about earlier. Bawa, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Obviously, we're drawing a lot of inspiration from our sprinters.
Thank you very much, Nat. I'm not more the CEO. I'm not the president of Ghana Athletics.
President is the designation, exactly.
Yes. Oh, yes. We are drawing a lot of hope and inspiration from the sprinters. And this time around, we are going beyond the sprinters to the jumpers. We have a very good high jumpers, both male and female. And we are pretty decent jumpers in the long jump. So in our part, we can't say that we are 100%, but we are almost there. And I couldn't agree more than what the president of table tennis expressed. It's cut across all the disciplines. I can say athletics, we're a bit fortunate to have a bit more professional athletes coming through. But what he just said is just the carbon copy of what is actually happening within the federations. There are a lot of unpolished talent across all the sporting disciplines in this country. We used to complain about infrastructure and facilities. Now that we have those things, what is critical now is how to polish this young talent coming through. And this is where we have to start them. Because now we can't complain about facilities. We cannot complain about equipment, especially when we talk of triathlon and athletics and cycling and a few other disciplines who are getting massive investment into these facilities. What we need to look at now, how do we polish our athletes going forward? This competition will expose a lot of our athletes to international standards. And the question do we ask ourselves is that, are they up there? So Emmanuel is the 100 rank, Joseph is 100 rank, Azamati is ranked very well, Solomon is ranked very well, and our Hajjamas are ranked very well. But that cannot be said in terms of triathlon or other disciplines. So we need, as a matter of agency, and as a legacy for these African Games, we need to have a dialogue. How do we polish or give our young athletes who have the talent? For the next 4 years, we will not be talking about ranking again. We will be talking about medal prospects across all the disciplines. So this conversation, we have to have this conversation. We don't have an opportunity to have the conversation. If we can have all the disciplines, because there are 43 disciplines in this country, or more than that, the ministry and the NSA should come out with a policy framework for a certain number of federations that they can put resources into to able to polish them to the African and to the world stage. If we get that, the next 4 years, we're not going to be discussing young athletes or professional athletes or who should train for more than what we were discussing about medals prospect, just like in Nigeria. Table tennis, I'm happy that the table tennis president is in the studio. He will tell you how Nigeria table tennis progresses up to this level. Even in badminton, We shouldn't talk about athletics or we shouldn't talk about football. Let's talk about table tennis. Let's talk about badminton in Nigeria. They were where we are now, but now they are on top of Africa. What do? They have the infrastructure, but the state, they have a slightly different program from ours. And for them, some of the states take certain disciplines and they push money into it. We don't have states, we have regions. If we can also replicate that, maybe Greater Accra Regional Administration or Greater Accra Regional Minister will adopt table tennis, and Eastern Regional Minister will adopt badminton. Tamale Regional Minister will adopt volleyball or handball. That is how it is done in Nigeria. Delta State is purely meant for athletics. If we're able to do that for the next 4 years, Ghana will be talking about how many gold medals or how many silver medals we are going to get. We won't talk about ranking, we won't talk about policies. And for me, this is going to be what we should be discussing after these games. As for infrastructure, I can say that athletics and a few other disciplines are very lucky. We have the best infrastructure we can get in this world in Lagos, both the main and out. We have one of the best electronic timing systems that we can get in the world, Finish Links. And on top of that, they are giving us, they brought another company who will come and support us do the timing. They are also coming with their equipment, with their expertise. So we are working with them. I can say that we are a bit fortunate. Some other disciplines do not get that. But what do we do with this knowledge and with this equipment after this competition? That is a conversation that we're having. That is a conversation of me and Mr. Moko in the studio will need to engage ourselves to, especially for the maintenance and how we're going to develop the sportsmen and women after this competition. That
can start realistically gauging and expecting results. Thank you so much, Mr. Bawa Hussaini, president of the of Ghana Athletics. He, he's been, laying some of the truths bare that now this is the conversation we need to have, and I believe that it will be final because over every Olympic cycle we come back and say the same things. Something definitely has to change. But before you come in again, Malco, let's go to Daniel Cranting of Joy Sports. Daniel Cranting has been paying specific attention to badminton, and there are some very interesting, statistics to see from the badminton event. That was played, that's been played, the competition that's been played. Danny K, good to have you here on the show. Mr. Bawa Hussaini mentioned that it is a place where you see a lot of raw talent, and something urgently has to be done so we can now start, realistically looking at, sharing the podium when big competitions like these come. But I want you to update us on what's been happening with
the badminton team is basically picking up from where the table tennis team stopped. And the painful thing is that when you talk to the coaches and the players, you can see that it's by no fault of theirs. It's just basically poor preparation. And as you said, they have a lot of raw talent. Unfortunately, we are not developing it. So the fact is Ghana is out of all the singles events at the badminton, both the women's and the men's singles. When it comes to the mixed doubles, Ghana is out of everything in mixed doubles. We only have 2 doubles teams left. That is 1 doubles teams in the women's doubles and then 1 in the men's doubles. That's at the round of 16 stage. So there's no, in terms of the singles, both men and women, Ghana is out of everything. In terms of mixed doubles, Ghana is out of everything. We just have 2 teams left, 1 each. For the men's doubles and then the women's doubles at the round 16 stage. So we are hoping that at least those 2 teams will be able to progress to the next round. The men's team is facing their counterparts from Burkina Faso, and the women's team are facing the Algerians, who seem to be extremely good in this competition, especially the North Africans, the Egyptians and the Algerians have completely dominated the singles and the doubles events at the badminton. At the Baltimore Sports Complex. So that is basically the update I can give you for now.
Are there any specific players or talents that we should start looking at for the future, especially as we're having this conversation?
Thankfully for me, I witnessed Leslie Attoh. He's an 18-year-old. He's a first-year student of University of Ghana. This is his first ever major competition. He only started playing badminton 3 years ago when he was in SS, and the coaches tell me he he caught them training one time. He walked up, said he wanted to play, and he's been playing with them ever since. He just lost his last year. As at last year's rankings, he was number one. So, and it was two very close sets. In fact, it was 21-19 in both. And at a point, he led Kakura by a point. So he was leading him 19-18, and then he failed to capitalize on the next two to win the two sets. So it was a very close and keenly contested game. You are talking about an unseeded Ghanaian who only started playing badminton 3 years ago, going 2-2 against the Africa's number one. It just goes to re-echo the point you made about the various sporting disciplines we have in the country. For table tennis, for athletics, there's a lot of raw talent. In fact, we are naturally athletic people. So we have the talent. It's very easy for us to pick up these sports and adopt. But getting to the next level to be able to compete is where we are lacking. And for that, we just seem not to be paying enough attention. But for Leslie, he's part of one part of the men's doubles team that is still in the competition. He and his partner won the round 64 and the round 32 games. So they are in the round 16 against the Burkinabes, and hopefully they can go all the way. It's just one or two things that they need to fix and fine tune, and hopefully the coaches are confident that they can at least make the semifinals.
All right. Thank you. Will be on our radar and would have to be watching him as we go along. Thank you so much, Danny. Well, okay. Daniel Cranting, bringing us up to speed on what's been happening in the badminton space, and that also fits into the earlier point you were making about the stories that these young athletes are also telling as a result of their participation. This is a first-year student at the University of Ghana. He came in one day, saw people playing, and said, "Look, let me play."
And he's playing to the highest levels, and not just that, he gets to the stage where he goes, head on with Africa's number one and barely lost. It speaks to, again, the groundswell of potential we have as a country. My colleague Francis Tokono sent me a message saying that I should say the future is exciting, and I am glad that the excitement is not restricted or limited to table tennis, but cuts across the various sporting sporting disciplines. Now, what it is, and I know that this might be a little unorthodox, but I believe we should be getting to the stage where between the sporting disciplines and the different stakeholders, there is a clear performance contract where we say that table tennis, you are here today, what are you able to deliver in 4 years' time? And what kind of projections do you see over the next 10 years? And then we work that backwards to look at our talent pool, and then we look at our resource framework, and we determine, what kind of strategic trust we require, what strategic direction or imperative will take us to those targets. We should start working this into our operational methods, and it must be consistent with every federation. Until we get to that stage where we apply data, we apply science, and we apply the highest levels of management to our disciplines. And what it means is that all the stakeholders would have to do what is required of them. I said to you that I was going to tell you the Juanita story. Juanita last year had the opportunity to go to Egypt for a training camp conducted for Africa by the Chinese. She was there for 10 days. 10 days. Then she was 12 years old. When she came back, our next competition was a major one, the Otumfuo Open in Kumasi. She won. It took only 10 days. It wasn't too much her play, even though her play improved materially, but it was just the mindset and the sense of belief and the exposure. The impact was transformational and immediate. Now, 2 years. That is medal assurance for over a 10-year period. So these are the necessary and critical investments we should be looking at. And what it takes to do it, I believe, resides within this country. We can do it.
Well,
It is possible.
it is possible.
The future is exciting.
It is possible the future is exciting. Sounds like it's coming from certain quarters. Well, we won't go into that now. But ticket sales are ongoing. Just click on or type in into your search engine tickets.accra2023ag.com. Once again, for ticket sales, it's tickets.accra2023ag.com. So that's where to get tickets. I've had personally loads and loads of phone calls and messages asking me, how the people can purchase tickets to go watch these games. So once again, it's tickets.accra2023ag.com. That is, the site for ticket purchase for the African Games. We're still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. In a bit, we'll also be taking a look at football and how Ghana started on a goalless drawn result against Congo. We'll take a look at that as well and look at the prospects, how good it is looking, and also put it up against that goal-winning performance that Ghana recorded some years ago under Dr. Randiabe's leadership as management committee chair of the then team. All right, now, what do the associations require? And we'll do this with your microscopic view, obviously. You have done your best pulling resources from corporate Ghana, but what else is needed? And how are you also tackling that syndrome or that phenomenon of the sports being heavily concentrated in the Greater Accra region?
Actually, one of the things we have as our key strategic deliverable is to embed table tennis in all the regions in this country. That for us is a non-negotiable. And, to get that right, you need to have a very deep bench of coaches. Just a couple of years back, 3-4 years, we were down to less than 5 qualified coaches, table tennis coaches. And, with everything, starting off on the right foot really helps. What we then sought to do, which we have done to an extent, is to build a whole body of coaches. So as I speak to you, we have close to about 80 qualified coaches. And that is a huge leap from 5 over 3 years to about 80 today. Now, we're also looking at getting these coaches across all the regions. So what we did, we played 2 very important factors. Number 1 was the regional representation. Number 2 was the gender quota. Because, again, the data speaks to the fact that in the history of this country, when it comes to table tennis, our laurels, and I know my gentlemen might disagree and might not like to hear this, but the women have given us better performance than the men. Maybe it's important we say this a day after the International Women's Day. No, truth. I mentioned that the last time we won in the singles was 87. The medals were won by 2 ladies. In fact, they won the doubles and they also got a medal. I think Patricia got a medal, the runner-up medal. That was the last time. In that same 87 competition, and Joseph Kwanzaa, of blessed memory, was the gent who went furthest and he got to the quarterfinals. So it's been tough for the men. The ladies have done us honest. I believe that this generation might break that particular dark, where we get to the stage where we get medals from both the gentlemen and from the ladies. Give us 4 years, give us 6 years, it's going to happen. But getting back to my original story, so we made sure our coaches came from next level is to move beyond the region and ensure that for every cluster of districts, we can have a qualified coach. And that way, with strong regional representation, with strong regional associations, the game is going to be not just embedded, but the game is going to flourish across in every part of this country. That is what we need. That is critical. Now, beyond the coaches, the other area of importance for us is the referees and the umpires. And, we're able to organize this competition with more than half that bench being Ghanaians. It normally doesn't happen. I think now, in terms of depth, we have one of the best south of the Sahara. So some of the key building blocks are in place. It helps us. I believe that with a solid foundation of this nature, we can put on top any edifice. And once the edifice is up and the results start coming, remember this date and remember this conversation.
And I'll keep it holy as well.
Please, you must.
Malcolm Afajinu is president of the Ghana Table Tennis Federation, a member of the Ghana Olympic Committee as well, very key in the rollout of these African games.
Actually, this is, as I said earlier, we'll start for these games. I'm a lead juror. I also, I'm a board member of the International Table Tennis Federation. So my interest in Ghana is particularly deep and huge. And I believe that, we're on the cups of greatness. And those who have eyes can see it coming.
Some people who want to play certain sporting disciplines talk about the difficulty with access to infrastructure. And some talk about how complicated the logistics are to play the sport.
And the cost
Yes.
of it. I mean, table tennis is not a particularly cheap sport to play because the basic things you need. I mean, you need a ball. The ball is affordable. Back in the day, we used to walk all the way to Accra to buy the balls. Now it's pretty affordable. You can order it online. But the racket and the rubber together could cost you a few hundreds of dollars. And for a lot of the young ones, it's particularly difficult. What we have is an arrangement in place where sometimes we get slightly used rubbers that get to these kids. But it is difficult. It's difficult for the kids. It's difficult for the clubs. It's difficult for the people who finance the clubs. It's not easy. It's difficult.
Well, it's not easy. And so I was also getting to the point on, on improvisation. I mean, when it comes to football, people are able to improvise, put a couple of old socks together, create a play in any corner. That cannot be said for table tennis exactly.
Well, I mean, at that level, there is also improvisation. I mean, I remember back in the day when we were much younger, you need two milk cans, you put now you play on a plywood, you put a stick across, it serves as your net. That's improvisation. However, when you start playing significantly and you get into the competitive tier, just like football, you need to wear boots to be able to play. And the same applies to table tennis, So in terms of community, where you are playing significantly, then you need to get the right kind of equipment to be able to play well.
Well, send in your messages. It's 02. Okay, let's go over it again. 05511119997. 05511. Taking a look at everything that's been happening so far. So Victor Achutamaklo has been monitoring. He monitored the Black Satellites and has got thoughts on the performance and the result. Victor, how is the West treating you this mid-morning?
I've been stuck in the capital. Was supposed to go to the West, but unfortunately, some events changed and I've been required to stay in the capital. So, yeah, I'm still in crazy busy Accra.
Crazy busy Accra, definitely.
Yes.
Look at you. Once again, if you're following the satellites, then you have their interest and you'd want to see them win, but it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened, and for a number of reasons, which I'm sure the coach would have answers to. Yesterday was not exactly the sort of start the Black Satellites, and for that matter, Ghanaians envisaged. The performance was less than desirable, if I'm to put it that way, because it was hard to tell what exactly the satellites wanted to do. But you may want to cut them some slack. It's still a project in the works, even though the coach has been around for quite some time now. He was assistant to Samuel Boadu for 9 months before he was promoted to the main role as assistant chief head coach in September. And he's been in that position for the past 6 months. And so in terms of familiarity with the Ghanaian coaching space, he's still very much trying to catch teeth, because up until now, all he's done in his coaching career was an assistant role in the, I think, under 18 team at Royal Antwerp. Apart from that, he is not exactly someone who has so much experience in terms of coaching at this level. So everything that he's seen, everything that he's doing now, I don't want to say is experimentation, but it's still very new to him, right? Because when it comes to youth football, having all of these concepts and understanding player profiles and Ghanaian players and everything, and even your ideas of how you want your team to play is one thing. Being able to translate those ideas and sustain success is another matter. And I think that's and the fact that he's new to the team hasn't really had significant control over the selection process for this team, because I think Gwedu did about 5 or 6 call-ups before he became the main manager. And, when he's assistant coach, his control over the team is perhaps going to be a bit limited. So this is the first time and the first major tournament that he really has the opportunity to stamp his signature over this particular team.
Well, let's also look at going further or going, advancing in this competition. Obviously, in the second game, the Black Satellites need 3 points, and in the third, they would need 3 points.
Well, they do. And I'm optimistic that they will be able to get a minimum of 4 points from the 2 games that they have got remaining. Look, while we all admit that this is still a very young team that is still new in terms of its development and team building, it still has certain characteristics that every strong Black Satellite or even Black Starlets team would have. So, Matthew would be better placed to tell us about the teams of the 80s or even the early 90s. You realize that they were dominated or littered with players who had credibility by virtue of their consistent performances in the Ghana Premier League. So if you talk about the 95 team, 97, 99, you had Stephen Appiah, you had Michael Osei, you had Bernard Donbote, you had, even in 2001, Joseph Pinto was part of that Black Satellites team that excelled. And so that has been the culture of having a name or two from the Ghana Premier League in the Black Satellite team. And this team has got a few of those. So the captain who yesterday was dropped, Asamoah Kufuor, the defender, plays for Brecum Chelsea, very good defender. The player who deputized for him and was captain when the match started, Ofori McCarthy, is a known name in the Ghana Premier League. He plays for Dreams FC. And then, of course, the main one that everyone has been talking about throughout the season is Aziz Issa. Before yesterday's game, he had scored, 10 goals in his last 12 appearances. In the CAF Confederations Cup, he had scored 4 times and set up 2 goals for Dreams FC. For context sake, you would have to go as far back as 2012 to find the last time a Ghanaian player recorded such impressive figures in any CAF interclub competition at the group stage. And that was Emmanuel Cloutier, who scored 6 goals for Brecum Chelsea that time. So in terms of starburst and players that can fast-track the process of growth for this team, and in the interim, and more importantly, be able to drag this team over the line, they've got enough of those. Michael Epson came off the bench yesterday to score. Unfortunately, that goal was chalked off. So if Ghanaians are a bit worried, I would say, yes, we need to be measured in our expectations of this team, but in the interim, we should have enough to be able to progress.
All right, so let's see how it goes. Now, these tournaments always serve as big platforms for the discovery of a name or two. We've seen that happen in the past. I mean, when you go to the football franchises and the competitions, you can talk about our new Date Lamtes. You can look at the Ablade Kumers. You can look at the Daniel Attohs and all who were practically discovered on these stages because of excellence. Is there a possibility we could be seeing some?
I think we could. I think the left back was certainly one to watch, except that we did not see him combine often with Aziz Issa in that game. And the few times that he did, you could tell that his pace and his ability to find teammates inside the penalty area was remarkable. Aside that, Aziz Issa is already a known name. The African Games or not, he was going to travel abroad within the next 24 months or 12 months, if you like. So he is one of those players who is a sure bet to leave the shores of Ghana. Then Ofori McCarthy himself, even though did not have a very good game yesterday, is a known name. And I think that a platform like this is one that could be a launch pad for him to get an opportunity like that. So yes, I think there is enough quality for us to expect that in 6 months or more, we will be looking back at this tournament as the one that gives credibility to the potential that these players had already shown.
All right. Well, potential has been shown already, and so we'll see how things pan out for the Black Satellites. Victor, thank you so much. But yesterday we were talking about Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. This sure is a very big spectacle that the whole world was, drawn to because of the kind of interest it generated in the heavyweight division of boxing. Your thoughts on this rather quick, easy does it kind of performance from AJ to see off Francis Ngannou, the former MMA artist?
If there was one bout that was essentially the proof to us that these bouts are not it, like this idea that a mixed martial artist, a YouTuber, a musician can transition and after 3 months or 2 months of training be able to competently face a professional boxer is a myth. It's a farce. And it breaks my heart that it is becoming mainstream in boxing to the extent that these bouts are sold. I mean, look, recently we're now talking about the possibility of Mike Tyson getting into the ring again. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and all of these guys who have become known names in boxing, they are not professional boxers. And I would lump all of them into the same basket. All of these YouTubers and non-boxers who think that just by exchanging words, just by daring someone and trash talking, they now earn the right for their talents to be seen. It's not. But look, boxing is a dangerous sport, right? We saw what happened to McClellan. We've seen what has happened to a number of boxers over the years, where one perfectly landed punch away from paralyzing someone for good. We've seen it already happen to professional boxers. And the idea that a YouTuber can step into the ring, a wrestler can step into the ring, a mixed martial artist can step into the ring and expose themselves to that much danger makes me uncomfortable. So for me, based on the health concerns or the safety concerns, and even the fact that it is wiping away the integrity of the sport, for me, these are not the bouts that I enjoy. And I hate the fact that they've become mainstream.
Okay, so let's let's see how things go. Let's now look at the future. I'm looking at the rest of the year for a boxer like Ngannou. He's now a boxer. I mean, you saw what happened with Conor McGregor. He fought, Floyd Mayweather Jr. And the next thing we saw, he was signing new endorsement deals. He was, and he's a transformed man now. He smiled to the bank nicely. You want to see more of Ngannou in the ring after these two performances?
No, I don't. And for two reasons. Number one, I do not trust the genuineness of their intentions. Because if you wanted to be a boxer, you would have become that a long time ago. They do this for the money. And the example you give is a perfect one. All of these mixed martial artists and all of these other guys look at the paycheck, the fight perks, and that is the biggest draw for them. It is not because they care about boxing or they genuinely want to pursue a career in boxing. That's why after 3-4 bouts, they call it quits, right? So it's not a case where you are deciding to make that transition from mixed martial arts into boxing. Here's the thing. It's practically impossible for them to do that. You essentially are going to start a new sport, boxing, at the age of 30. And like it or not, however technically skilled you are, no matter how motivated you are, boxing is the kind that you do not start in your old age. There's a reason why for a lot of, even at the amateur ranks, when you go to places like Cuba, when you go to places like Mexico, there is a quota for you before you graduate or move on from the amateur level into the professional ranks. And all of that is to season you, is to prepare you. So you have to fight a ton of bouts, go through the ranks, right? Build your endurance, build your chin, build your capacity, understand even the technical aspects of the sport. That is not something you are going to suddenly learn at the age of 28, 29, or even 26, and expect that you will be able to last 12 rounds or even 6 rounds in the ring with someone like Floyd Mayweather when that bout happened, or in this case, Anthony Joshua, when it has happened. So the level of education required to be a competitive boxer is such that when you want to make the transition, you either do it after year 1 or 2 in whichever sports that you're in, or you forget it. Because you cannot spend 15 years of your professional life training in one discipline and then you transition into football. It doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't happen that way.
So the simple answer to the question you've asked is no. I don't want to see these transitions into boxing. It dilutes the it dilutes the sport, and it affects the integrity of the sport, because everyone can tell these guys are doing this for the money.
Well, interesting. Well, Victor, thank you so much, and we'll be monitoring the international airwaves, and we'll be updating our listeners and our viewers on what will be happening next with the Cameroonian MMA artist, who now has seen and tasted what it means to fight Anthony Joshua. Well, many people who were arguing in his favor and placing their bet on him spoke about or gave the reference to that very, very impressive performance he put up against Tyson Fury. So let's see how things go for him. But of course, it's a forward march for AJ, and we'll see who comes up next in challenging him. Did you manage to make time through the busy schedules to observe what went on? You slept off, yeah. That also happens to a lot of us, you know. You burn the midnight oil. When it's time for the fight, you sleep. Yeah. Well, we'll be doing some more in terms of updates around the African Games, and we'll continue the rest of it tomorrow as well, because we are, we're making sure that we bring you up to speed on, on what's been happening. Let's go for some of the highlights of that bout between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou, which ended in a second round knockout.
Focus. No! AJ touched him, he went down! What a shot! Straight right hand! Down the pipe of Ngannou. He's hurt. Let's see if AJ jumps right on him.
He got too confident and paid the price.
What a stunner!
Got a right angle now, Anthony Joshua.
This is what was supposed to happen when Fury faced Ngannou.
Whoa, he got clipped himself there, Joshua.
He did. With a left hook on the top, it's a nice right to the body.
It's nearly Andy Ruiz all over again.
How aggressive will AJ be? He knows if he can hit him with a good shot, Ngannou will go down. Ngannou showed an iron chin in the UFC.
Patience after from AJ. Very important. We've seen him not rush in, no need. Big round for Anthony Joshua.
That left hook is so long, isn't it, from Ngannou? And heavy.
Why that right hand? He's
coming again! Ngannou walked right into it, and you can't do that against Anthony Joshua!
He's hurt, badly hurt.
He's up. He has the look of defeat on his face, a bewildered look. Let's see if Anthony Joshua can dispose of the MMA champion. It is lights out. Wow. Anthony Joshua.
Incredible. What a shot.
And Ngannou's out cold, ladies and gentlemen. He's not
Well, and there are those who are, wading into the conspiracy theory space and saying this is not a genuine win, and that, something else created.
Yeah, the way it went. I mean, it has its own flashes, and it leads to questions. You're wondering whether it was a real deal or it was a makeup.
But also, Malco, I think we should also take a look at how, Ngannou landed on the turf and the surface, and that is one of the key considerations that referees make in stopping these bouts, because the key principle here is that the athlete's safety is paramount.
It's paramount. It's always number one. I get that one, and he actually was dropped. However, you can't fault the cynics.
The first two times, yes, definitely, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, you felt that the punches were a little light, and shouldn't have taken him, considering the kind of conditioning he's supposed to have.
Precisely. I mean, anyway, these things, they are part of the game. So,
well, let's get back on the distance conversations. And joining us is a man who's been here before, sat right here in this seat before, many years ago. And he will be part of the stories that will be told when the multimedia group hits its 30th milestone next year. But let's speak to Yaw Ampofo-Ankra. Yaw Ampofo-Ankra has massive experience when it comes to sports media in this country, done television, radio, online, traveled the world as well, and has been, most importantly, monitoring and has been covering everything that has gone on. He's got work to do on the Ghana Premier League this afternoon, so we're going to take some very brief comments from him and then would move on. Yao, thank you very much for joining us here on the Joy Sports Link.
Lads, good afternoon. It's good to see you. And my boss there, Vice President, GOC, Malcolm. Good afternoon.
Hey, big man. How are you?
Doing good, sir.
Great.
So, Yaw Ampofo-Ankra is currently an anchor with Max Television, and is also very key in rolling out a lot of their content and their strategy as well. Yao, you were in Côte d'Ivoire. You saw what was done with the AFCON, and you came back to Accra. You did a lot of commentary on what we should do for the African Games. As we get ready to wrap up the show, I want you to tell me what the key striking points for you have been, for the start of the African Games.
Nats. Great opening ceremony. Obviously, we need to talk about that. The optics were fantastic. The lighting, the music, it was great. I think I would have given it 9 out of 10 if the venue had been filled to capacity, because at the end of the day, you want that natural ambience, the crowd, that energy. That's what people watching at home in Ghana, across Africa, and the rest of the world will tap into. So we missed that little trick where Ivory Coast got it absolutely right, getting the reactions of ordinary fans in the stands who are tapping into the emotional aspect. But it was great, and I'm happy we were able to, showcase Ghana culture. Shatawale is an African name, global name. Hopefully, the closing ceremony will have the likes of Sarko there and, Ifya Nocturnal and the rest. Stoneboy coming through. We can't have all of them on one night. But going beyond that, Nat, I think we need to understand that the African Cup of Nations was huge and monumentally successful because most stakeholders or all stakeholders decided to join hands and make sure it was a phenomenal success. And in the end, obviously, with Ivory Coast winning, made it even more of a spectacle. Ghana is hosting the rest of Africa, so you could say it's even bigger, more than 50 countries represented. How do we sell Ghana and the rest of the continent to the rest of Africa and beyond? If you're European watching, if you're an Asian, if you're from America and you're watching, what do you want to take away from it? And I think we're lucky it's just begun. We've not got into it yet. I know table tennis had a good championship, but other sports are there. So the packaging, what we show, the optics, and how we are able to portray Ghana sports, Ghana culture, Africa is very, very important. And hopefully we'll be able to do that in the coming days. It's not been smooth. Some of my colleagues have complained about having difficulty getting accreditation. There are other issues with technology, getting access to venues to work. So we need to work on that. It's very, very important that at the end of the day, everybody says that Ghana 2023 or the African Games was a success. It will be a disgrace if we don't do it, because Ivory Coast showed us the way with the AFCON. We have no excuse but to do just as good or even better than we saw at the AFCON.
Well, having said that, I'm sure that people have come to you with interests. I've spoken about people calling to ask for directions, for tickets and all of that. Now, what would you want to point them to follow at these African Games from your perspective?
I think the LOC have had time to prepare well, and the various committees know exactly what they need to do. This is not the first time Ghana is hosting, such games. It's a first for the African Games, obviously, but we have experience in hosting tournaments. Tennis, badminton, Marco's there. He's traveled the world, so they would know the optics and the technical aspects, and also how you coordinate. Coordination is very, very important. So you need to get experts who know or who've done it before. If you don't, there's no harm in bringing in experts from countries. And as I said, Ivory Coast just a few weeks ago gave us a tremendous tournament. We could always tap into that. So there shouldn't really be an excuse for that. There are 4 venues, Boteman, the Accra Sports Stadium, Legon, and Cape Coast, the main venues, but there are other allied venues, International Conference Center, for example. It should be quite easy to get people access there by transportation, direction, and what have you. I think in the era that we find ourselves, technology would make that very, very easy for us. If we're not doing that, then we need to really sit up and ensure that going forward, we don't have any such complaints. Otherwise, that could actually be the headlines. And we must also bear in mind, we're not hosting just Ghanaians and Africans. The Europeans are here to cover. The Asians, the Americans are here. So it's very important that we sell Africa through Ghana in a very positive way.
For the events and the sporting disciplines, which will be your area of interest in wrapping up this conversation?
Obviously, beach soccer isn't there. We would have hoped as a demonstration sport, but that's another conversation. But boxing has always been, prime. And I know the world champion female, the Nigerian and the Moroccans will be here, top athletes as well, athletics. And for me, the new tracks will be put to test. I would love to see how that would respond to world sprints and long distance, whatever distances we have, and how we can make good use of that, not just for the games, as an advert for future tournaments and meets. So for me, athletics is one eye that I would really want to keep an eye on. The football has started. We know what it's about. Under 21 or under 20 usually is the bedrock for most national teams, and some of the teams there are here to prepare future national teams. And Ghana started with the draw. Not bad. I think the team has got potential, so let's see what happens. But athletics for me and boxing would be 2 areas I'll really be focusing on.
Very well, very well. Yeah, thank you so much, and all the best with it this afternoon in the Ghana Premier League and the action later on.
Thanks very much, Nat. I hope to see you soon.
Sure. Yampo Fankra with Max Television bringing us up to speed and telling us where his areas of interest will also lie. Time to wrap it up. And so we sure have had some massive experience, and it should be a good lesson enough so that we don't come back to these conversations.
Yes, the lessons are there. They are priceless. We need to take them and run with them. Beyond the lessons, however, are the successes that we've chalked. And these are not lights. These are very heavy ones. I mean, just to reiterate the words of the president of the African Table Tennis Federation, what they experienced in Ghana has been the best ever since table tennis started at the African Games. The best ever. We shouldn't take it for granted. And it speaks to the tenacity, it speaks to the ability to walk through difficulties and to turn challenges and difficulties into blocks of success. And we've done it. We've done it. Ghana has done it. And I am believing that would have that trend reflecting in the other sporting disciplines. So table tennis, in a sense, was a pace setter, and we set the pace. We've delivered. Everybody associated with the games is super excited. They are all gone on record to say how Ghana elevated the contest, the competition, the execution to world standards, and we should be very excited about that. We are also equally excited about our talents coming through. And the fact that we can sit here confidently and say, on the back of everything we've seen, 4 years' time, our athletes are going to go up on the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malko Afajinu. He is the second in command when it comes to the Ghana Olympic Committee, and also, first in command when it comes to the Ghana.
First vice president.
First vice president, yeah. So second in command.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, so thank you all so much. Thanks to everyone else. And we shall be back next week with another Joy Sports Link. The Joy headline news at 2 is up with Danisia Apoma AJ. After that, your man and my man will be taking over with Showbiz A to Z. Kwame Dazi and the rest of the crew will be here. So you stay well. And the Joy headline news is up next. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have love for sport.
The Africa Games is finally here, and the 10 swimmers are all in, committed to making their mark.